Hello. After finishing chapter 6, it's time now to proceed with the immune response. This is going to be your chapter 7. And today's lesson is about the non-specific immune response. It's going to be activity 1, page 138. Let's first know what do we mean by pathogens. A pathogen is an infectious agent that causes disease or illness to its host. So any non-self that enters into a host is said to be a pathogen if it can cause disease or illness to this host. Examples on pathogens can include bacteria, viruses, protozoa, or even the substances secreted by them. Pathogens are said to be either endogenous or exogenous, where endogenous pathogens are those that entered the inside of the host cells. Example, the viruses. So they infect the body cells, they enter to the inside of these cells, while the exogenous pathogens are the ones that remain attached to the tissues from the outside, for example, bacteria. What are the natural barriers of the body? Before getting to know about the non-specific immune response, since this is our activity, first of all, you're supposed to know that our bodies are naturally provided by special natural barriers that try to protect the bodies by preventing the entry of these pathogenic agents to the body at the first place. These barriers are physical and chemical ones. First of all, the first barrier that we're supposed to know is the skin. So the skin is a physical barrier. It, of course, forms an isolation between the inside and the outside of the body, and it prevents microbes and pathogens from entering and colonizing inside the body. Moreover, there are special enzymes known as the lysozymes. They are present in tears and other secretions, and they are in charge of dissolving cell walls of substances trying to attack our bodies. Normal flora are the normal microbes that live within us. We usually have these normal flora in the digestive systems, and mainly in the digestive systems and in other systems in the body as well. It is usually this normal flora is made up or constituted of special bacteria which are harmless to us. Actually, we consider them to be useful because they compete with the pathogens trying to attack our bodies. Also, the gastric juice present inside the stomach, the acidity of this gastric juice usually inhibits the growth of the microbes and tries to kill them. Of course, we're talking about the microbes that are sensitive to the acidic medium. Those that are not sensitive to the acidic medium might be destructed by the bile, which is basic and present in the small intestine. Also, there is the mucus and the cilia which line the trachea, and they move the microorganisms outside of the body. Also, some blood proteins can inhibit the growth of the microbes. Also, as we said before, the normal flora that can be present in the small intestine and in the digestive system protects those systems and competes with the pathogens trying to attack them. Of course, we also have the sweat present on the skin, which also protects our bodies because it has the lysozymes and protects our bodies from the pathogens. Also note that the secretions of the reproductive systems also play a very important role in preventing the entrance of the microbes to the inside of the body. Note that the mucus lining the respiratory system and present in the lungs also prevent the colonization of these pathogens trying to invade and attack our respiratory system. Immune response. We have two types of immune responses, the non-specific and the specific. The non-specific immune response, it is the one carried out by the monocytes, which are said to be also macrophages, and the granulocytes, both of which are said to be the phagocytes. This is said to be a non-specific immune response because it is targeted against any non-self element regardless of its identity. On the other hand, specific immune response is carried out only by lymphocytes, the B and the T lymphocytes, and it is usually targeted against a particular precise antigen, and this is why we call it specific. Non-specific immune response is also known as an innate immunity. It is the first line of defense against infection or injury. So, as we said before, there are natural barriers that prevent the entrance of the pathogenic agents to the body. But still, of course, pathogens can still find a way into our bodies. And in this case, the non-specific immunity will be the first line of defense to protect our bodies against these invaders. The non-specific immune response includes the inflammation and the phagocytosis. We are going to start with the inflammation. As you can see in this figure, if we have a wound, or if a needle, let's say, or a wood entered into, found a way and punctured our skin. So this is our skin after getting this puncture. What's gonna happen to the skin? As you can see, obviously, the skin is gonna swell. This is known as swelling or edema. So the signs that are going to appear, and these are the inflammation signs, are swelling or edema. Also, of course, we are going to feel some pain. We are going to feel warmth or heat in this wound region. And of course, this region is going to be red in color. So these are the 4 signs of inflammation. Now, what causes the red appearance? This is usually caused because of the increased blood flow to the region where there is the wound. So when there is a wound, as you can notice, we already said that the skin forms the first physical barrier that prevents the microbes from entering to the body. So when we have a puncture, this puncture is gonna open the gate for the microbes to try to enter into our body. This in turn is gonna stimulate the increased blood flow to the region of the inflammation. This increased blood flow will cause redness. As you can see, this is the region of inflammation, and these are the white blood cells that are going to hurry up to the region of the inflammation in order to get rid of these pathogens that are trying to enter to the body. So due to this, as these phagocytes try to leak outside the blood capillaries, also there will be leakage of the plasma or the liquid phase of the blood. This plasma, as it leaks outside the blood capillaries, it is gonna cause edema or swelling. So this is what leads to the swelling at the region of the infection. Pain, of course, we already know that nerve endings are present in the region where there is inflammation, and the stimulation of these nerve endings will lead to the pain. Also, this warmth or heat is due to the release of the cytokines. This is going to be released by the inflamed cells, by the tissues, by the phagocytes, to allow the inflammation reaction to take place and for it to get rid of the cells trying, or the bacteria or the pathogens trying to attack our body. So these are the 4 signs of inflammation that occur whenever we have an injury or wound, and the reasons that allow them to happen. As you can see, usually the first thing that's gonna happen this is a needle entering. We're still in the same topic. So when we have a puncture and the pathogens try to enter, chemical signals by the inflamed tissue is gonna be released. These chemical substances actually are known as cytokines. Okay, these cytokines could be histamines or prostaglandins. They are chemical substances released by those cells to attract the phagocytes to the region where there is inflammation, for this inflammation to get to an end. The capillaries are going to dilate, so the diameter of the capillaries is going to increase to allow the increased blood flow. This will in turn allow a bigger amount of white blood cells to reach to the region where there is an inflammation, in order to help get rid of these pathogens trying to invade our bodies. Chemotactic factors, these chemotactic factors or the cytokines are going to attract the phagocytic cells. So these cytokines that have been released by the inflamed tissues are going to attract these phagocytes, which will undergo the process of diapedesis, in which these phagocytic cells are going to margin and find a way to leave these blood capillaries. As you can see here, they can leave the blood capillaries into the inflamed area to get rid of these pathogenic agents by the process of phagocytosis. So the manifestations of the non-specific immune response, as I was saying, when the microbes enter to a tissue, the infected cells, the macrophages and other white blood cells will start releasing a small soluble chemical molecule which can act on the target cells, and this molecule is said to be the cytokines. These cytokines have very important roles. First of all, they lead to the increased blood flow because they increase the diameter of the blood vessels by dilating these blood vessels. They also increase the blood vessels permeability, so they will allow the leak out of the plasma and the white blood cells, particularly the phagocytes, out of these capillaries to the inflamed tissues. Also, these cytokines are gonna attract the phagocytes, part of the leukocytes, to the site of the infection after they undergo the process of diapedesis. I remind you that diapedesis is the margining of these phagocytes when they take the margin at the level of the capillaries to be able to squeeze themselves between the cell membranes of the cells forming the blood vessels to be able to leak outside those blood vessels and reach to the inflamed region. So we said that the non-specific immune response includes inflammation. We already covered that part. And it also includes another very important process known as phagocytosis. So phagocytosis is a process carried out by certain living cells, which we call them the phagocytes. These phagocytes, as we said before, are either monocytes or granulocytes. The granulocytes, as we said before, are the eosinophils, basophils, and neutrophils. The steps involved in the phagocytosis are, of course, first of all, the activation of the phagocyte has to take place. Then chemotaxis of the phagocytes, wandering macrophages, neutrophils, and eosinophils are going to be attracted, and they are going to extend their false feet, which we call them pseudopods, in which they are going to approach, come closer to the pathogenic agent. After that, they are going to attach, they are going to touch the microbe or the cell, which is the pathogenic cell, and they are going to engulf and digest, if they were able to digest, after engulfing the pathogenic agent. So these are the four major steps of the phagocytosis. Take a look into this phagocytosis process. These are the false feet that I was telling you about. We call them false feet because they only exist when the phagocyte wants to move and wants to engulf this pathogenic agent. So this is the pathogen, okay? It could be a bacteria or any pathogenic agent. In this case now, it is engulfed. After being engulfed, it's gonna be internalized and placed within a vesicle known as the phagosome. So the vesicle that the phagocyte uses to place the pathogen is said to be the phagosome. All of these enzymes around are known as the lysosomes. These lysosomes are going to fuse with the phagosome to form what is known as phagolysosome. And it's mixture between the phagosome or the vesicle carrying the pathogen and the lysosomes, which are the enzymes that are going to digest this pathogen. So the phagolysosome, after being formed, this is going to lead to the combination of the pathogenic agent with the lysosomes, and these lysosomes are supposed to start digesting this bacteria, and this is usually the result of the phagocytosis only if the phagocyte was able to digest the pathogen. The result of the phagocytosis, we have three possible results. In the first case, the pathogen is going to be eliminated by the phagocyte and it's going to be destructed and digested by these lysosomes. And in this case, the infection is going to be stopped. In the second case, the phagocyte is gonna be eliminated by the pathogen and the infection is gonna persist. So either one will win. Either the phagocyte will be able to digest the pathogen and kill it and the infection will stop, or the pathogen will be resistant to the enzymes, the lysosomes, which are present in the phagocyte, and in this case, the one which is going to win is unfortunately the pathogen and not the phagocyte, and of course the infection is gonna persist in this case. In the third case, also if the pathogen was able to resist the lysosomes, it can still remain intact or undamaged inside the phagocyte until time passes, and this stage is said to be a dormant or stationary phase. After this stage passes, also usually the pathogen is gonna start multiplying inside the phagocyte and it will get rid of the phagocyte. So these are the three possible results of the phagocytosis. Thank you. Study this activity very well, as it is a prerequisite for the coming activities.